Hey guys, how are ya? This is Dan, aka Saxman112, here today to do an overview and review of iOS 5. So, without further ado, let's get to it. First, I'm going to show you a new feature here in the lock screen. So, if you just double tap the home button, besides being presented with the music controls, you'll also be presented with this camera button down here. And if you tap it, you'll launch straight into the camera. So that's nice. And in addition to the zoom bar showing up by tapping the screen. Wait, it actually doesn't show up anymore. So I guess the only way to zoom now is to just do pinching and zooming. Which I guess is nicer, because it's so annoying having to tap the screen before, then having to use one of your smaller fingers to use the zoom bar. And one of the new features here in the camera app, if you press options, which replace the HDR toggle, you have options for grid lines, which I guess would be useful for if you're using, like if you want to align objects in a certain way and want to make sure they're in a shot, but I'll just keep that off. And as always, we still have HDR. And also, a new feature that I really love about the camera camera app in iOS 4 now, or iOS 5, excuse me, is that you can press the volume up button and it'll take a picture. So now, this means you don't have to fool around with trying to get down to this camera button here in the app, so you don't have to worry about it shaking. And now, if you swipe to the left here in the camera, it'll automatically bring up your camera roll. So that's something I really love. And vice versa, if you swipe right, bring you back to the camera. So now I'll actually unlock my iPhone. As you can see, the home screen still looks the same here, but now if you swipe down, you'll get the notification center. As you can see, if you had any notifications, they would show up right here, being grouped in categories like phone calls, text messages, emails, things like that. Then up here, you have, by default, you'd have the weather widget and the stocks widget. I decided to turn the stocks widget off though, but keep the weather. And as you can see, this is an app, or this widget uses location services, so it'll show you your local weather and the location you're currently in, the current temperature, as well as the high and low. And if you swipe to the left or right, you'll get a 6-day forecast. So I think that's very nice. Then here in the Messages app, iOS 5 now includes iMessage, but if you're sending a text message or sending a message to anyone that doesn't have iOS 5 installed on their iPhone, or they do have it installed but don't have iMessage activated, you'll be sending out a standard SMS text message. So it'll say text message down here, and the send button will be green. But if you're sending an iMessage, up here it will say new iMessage down here in the composition box, and the send button will be blue. I really haven't got a chance to try out iMessage though, because there aren't that many people I know that have installed iOS 5 on their iPhone yet and enabled iMessage. So hopefully I'll get to test it out soon. Next, the new change we have here in our calendar is the week view, which you can activate here on the iPhone by rotating it into landscape. And as you can see, it looks pretty similar to a calendar app on a computer. For example, iCal in Mac OS X. So that's pretty nice. The next big change I'll have here is in the Photos app. If you go down here to the bottom and click on this button, you have all the same options you did before, like emailing the photo, sending sending in a message, assigned to a contact, uses wallpaper, and printing via AirPrint. You have an option to tweet out this photo using the now included Twitter app here in iOS 5. So that's pretty nice. And now you also have a built-in editor. So as you can see, there's this new edit button. If you click that, or press that I should say, you have options to rotate the photo, do auto enhance, remove red eye, and crop, which you can just do by pinching and zooming and moving this box around. And if you want to, you can make it a certain size from the available choices here. So that's pretty awesome. I think that's a great new feature here inside the Photos app. Another new feature we have here on the home screen is something called Newsstand, and basically this is an easier way to manage all your magazine and newspaper subscriptions. If you click on that little store button, you'll be sent right to the App Store to the magazines and newspaper section. Then here on the next page, another new app we have in iOS 5 is the Reminders app. So I'll just create a new reminder here. I'll just say go to store. Yeah, I had to put the camera down because it's hard to look through the viewfinder and do this at the same time. I'll click done. And now I'll show you options that you can do within the Reminders app here. Oh, excuse me. So if you click this, you'll have the reminder options right here under Remind Me. So you'll have an option to have it remind you on a certain day and a certain time. Or you can have it do it in a certain location. For example, you can have it remind you when you're leaving your current location or when you arrive to a certain location. Like for example, like if you want to go to a grocery store and have it remind you with a list, you can do that. So personally, I think that's going to be very nice for people who want to stay organized and not have to worry about forgetting things. And under Show More, you can change the priority of this and add special notes. And then as you can see over here, there's a checkbox. If you click this, it'll let the Reminders app know that you've completed the action. So basically, this is like a to-do list right on your phone. So that's very nice. Now I'll show you some of the new settings you can change. Well, first, before showing that, you actually have a new look for the toggles. So now I'll go to notifications, and as you can see, the notification settings here have been totally revamped. So for example, if I click on phone, you have the option to turn notification center on and off for these notifications. You can show at most 10 recent items or as few as 5 or 1. And for alert styles, you can choose it. You can have it not alert you, do it in the banner style, which basically just shows something up here at the top and it won't interrupt what you're doing, or the classic alerts, which basically was the alert style or city notification style in iOS 4 and previous versions. Then you have options for the badges and reviewing the lock screen. So I think that's very nice. Then you have all your other apps here. So, and you can also edit the arrangements of the apps here. So if I wanted to drag the weather widget down, I could do that. So there's full customization of how you want the order of your notifications to appear. So that's very nice. Then here under iCloud, well, if you don't know what iCloud is, This is a service that's replacing MobileMe, and you can have it sync your mail if you have an at me.com address for iCloud. I opted not to have that because I already have Gmail. You can have it sync your contacts, calendars, reminders, bookmarks, notes, photo stream, which allows you to sync your photos that you've taken on any iDevice, whether it be the iPad 2, the iPod Touch, 4th generation, or the iPhone 4 and 3GS. And the cool thing about this is if you take a photo on any of these devices, they'll be synced. They'll be immediately synced to the other devices when you're connected to Wi-Fi and logged into iCloud. Then you also have the option for syncing your documents and data, which is used in conjunction with the Pages app. And then, of course, there's Find My iPhone, which is now free along with iCloud, so that's very nice. Then you also have storage and backup, and it'll show your total and available storage you have for iCloud. It comes with 5 gigabytes for free, and if you want to, you can buy more storage if you so desire. Then down here, you have an option for backing up all your data into iCloud. So it'll back up your camera roll, accounts, documents, settings, and other things when your iPhone is plugged in and connected to Wi-Fi. Now keep in mind though, if you turn this on, it'll give you its warning saying your iPhone will no longer back up your computer automatically when you sync with iTunes. So I keep that off because I still rely on iTunes for syncing all my data and stuff. But you may be different. So basically, iCloud, it keeps all your data between your iPhone, or it syncs all your data with your iPhone into the cloud. So if you want to, you can like have it all safe there and not have to rely on iTunes. Then mail, contacts, calendar, that's the same. Now, as I said before, you have a Twitter app included in iOS 5. So once you click install, you can sign in with your Twitter username and password, and you can tweet directly from your iPhone. So that's pretty cool. Ooh. Okay, nothing new under phone. Under Safari, you now have an option for private browsing. So if you don't want any of your history and stuff to be saved, you can just turn that on. Then you just have all the same other settings in here. Under Messages, you now have the option for iMessage, which I said before is, well, if I didn't say this before, you can now send messages between other iPhone users that have it on the iPad and iPod Touch over Wi-Fi. So I think that's very nice because if you're like messaging between 2 iPhones that are running iOS 5 and have iMessage activated with their Apple IDs, you don't have to deduct anything from your text message plan. But for me, that's not a problem because I have unlimited messaging. Then you have just a bunch of other settings right down here. Most of these are still the same. Oh, also forgot to mention, the iPod app has now been split up into music and video. So I'll show you that on the home screen also. Other than that, most of the settings are still the same. Oh wait, actually, before I go on to some of the settings under here, I'll go to Sounds. And now you can finally change basically almost every single sound here in the iOS. So as you can see now, you can change your text tone, voicemail tone, new mail, sent mail, tweet, calendar alerts, and reminder alerts. So Apple, if you're watching this, it's about time you've done that. Thank you very much. So now if I go to General, there some new settings under here are software update. You can update your software completely over there now with Wi-Fi and 3G. So that's very nice. And also another big thing here, iTunes Wi-Fi sync. So now basically, if you want to sync your content with iTunes, if you still do that, you don't have to plug it into your computer anymore. So if you, as you can see up here, if you have it plugged into power and connected to Wi-Fi, it'll automatically go into iTunes and do a sync without having to be connected to computer. So that's very nice. And also, related to this, iOS 5 has a new feature now called called PC Free. And what that means is when you first get your new iPhone, it'll you don't have to connect to your computer anymore in order to set it up. It'll have a nice slide setup thing down here, and it'll give you the option. It'll give you all the basic setup options for initial setup, like enabling location services, signing in with your Apple ID, and things like that. So basically, you don't have to have a computer anymore to set up an iPhone. So that's very nice. Let's see, anything else new? And unfortunately, for those of you who don't know already, iOS 5 on the iPhone 4 as well as 3GS do not include Siri. It's only an iPhone. It's exclusive to the iPhone 4S. So that's kind of sad. I actually wish they brought it here to the iPhone 4. But as you can see, I press and hold the home button. It'll due to voice control. But I did notice that the new voice for voice control, the voice for voice control, it sounds exactly like the new voice for Siri. So I'll show you an example. What time is it?
The time is 11:46 a.m.
So as you can see, that's the only major difference in that. And as I said before, when I showed you in settings, the iPod app has now been split up into music and videos. And I bet you the main reason why Apple did this is to show that the iPod Classic is now dead, because in the iPod app icon, it showed a picture of the iPod that we once knew as a iPod Classic. So, well, that doesn't mean the iPod line is completely dead, so to say. It just means that they're just moving on to all touch-based navigation for their iPods, well, except for the shuffle. So if I go here to music, as you can see, the interface is still the same, but the only difference is that down here you only have music-related items, just as if you were on an iPod. Oh, and now also you have a direct link to the iTunes Store right from the selection screen of the music app. Then videos, basically the same thing it was before, except that it's now separated from the iPod app. Alright, so that is about it for my overview and review of iOS 5. Overall, I would have to give it a 10 out of 10 because I think this is just a giant leap forward for Apple. Because iOS 4, it finally brought features like multitasking to the table, which should have been there in the first place, but then we finally got them. And I just think this update includes just a bunch more features than what we got in iOS 4, like the notification center. This was something I was really excited about. And yet, does it look like Android? Yes, it does, but Apple changed that slightly, so I don't care that they're really copying Android that much. At least they got the idea to have a widget up in there, which you don't have with Android, and it actually groups your notifications by type, which stock Android doesn't do, as I said. So, overall, as I said, I am very happy with this update. And as I said, it is just leaps and bounds ahead of where we were last year. So, if I were if I were to say about how much I love iOS 5, big thumbs up, or 2 thumbs up, which I can't do because I have my hand in the strap for my camcorder. But overall, I'm not disappointed I got this update. And I've actually been using this for a little over a week now because I got the GM update, or the Gold Master update, which Apple seeded on the same day they announced the iPhone 4S. So I've just been very impressed. And also, if you haven't noticed, it actually made my iPhone 4 slightly faster. Because I remember in previous builds of iOS 4, the performance is a little bit inconsistent. But now, with iOS 5, at least for now, performance is buttery smooth. Alright, so that about wraps up my video. I'm talking about iOS 5. If it got a bit long, I'm sorry if it got a bit long and ranty, if you will. But now I'm finally going to be ending it. So, thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video.